So, welcome to podcast 2, episode 2 of our Last of Us podcast. I'm Shell Pop, and with me is the Red Viking.
Hello.
So, today we're actually going to be talking about episode 4 of The Last of Us on HBO. Um, I'll just go over uh, one thing that I really liked from the very first is they almost had like especially that truck scene when they're driving
Yes.
almost one to one with the show. Um,
Yeah.
and the nice thing about that is like I know they're taking variants and that's really nice, but at the same time, like that is such a well written sequence of video or whatever that went throughout the whole, from the game itself. And so to recreate that was really good.
Yeah, and I thought they really knocked out of the park because the actress that plays Ellie, she, one of my favorite parts that's just memorable is when she has that magazine she pulls out. She's like, "How does he walk around with this thing?" And the way that she pulled it off, though, similar to Ashley Johnson when she plays Ellie in the video game, I thought was so well done, so well done. It still made me like giggle a little bit, and but at the same time the rest of that scene was very heartfelt and like a good, they're kind of letting down their guards and they're getting more comfortable with one another.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, because she's starting. You can tell she's starting to feel more comfortable with Joel because she's willing to joke
mhm.
around with him. And generally, like I found, like I'm more willing to joke around and be very much more boisterous with people I'm comfortable with. If it's somebody I'm
Mhm.
not comfortable with, first time meeting them, I completely go inside. And you could see before, like even episode 3, where Ellie really was like, I don't know if I want to be around this guy.
Right.
Yeah, she was really, I don't know, I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I'm in a bad place. Um, so let's see. I didn't turn on. There we go. Get some light.
So what I thought was really cool, just gonna cut in here, was
Yeah,
so at the beginning, Ellie has this pun joke book and just like some of the best dad jokes I've ever heard. And she starts reading those off at the beginning while they're still at the truck stop. And at that point, Joel is basically telling her to just quit it, shut up, kind of deal.
yeah,
And I thought that was interesting because you could see, like, yeah, Ellie is opening up, but Joel was still being standoffish or still trying to not smile, not laugh at these dumb jokes, but he was just still being inward. You can
yes,
see a little bit of like a bit of a smirk on his face, like, okay, that was a bit of a good one that she said, like a good dad joke, but he was still closed off. But he was teaching her things such as, when he was siphoning gas out of that one vehicle, because apparently they have to do it like once every hour or something like that.
yeah,
And yeah, she was still being quite like asking him tons and tons and tons of questions and being like, so how does that work? How does blowing into this thing pump gas out? And he's like, oh well, it does something. And she's like, you don't know how it works, do you? It's like, no, no, not really.
well, that was an interesting thing that I uh, in their official podcast that they talked about is like on an intellectual level, Ellie's a smarter, like higher IQ, I guess you would say is a better thing
Mm,
than Joel.
okay.
She doesn't have the world experience that he has, but she has the higher IQ. And so she
Mm,
picks up on things like him kind of like, oh well, I don't want to joke about this or something like that.
mm-hmm.
Um, she she picks up that he's kind of warming up to her, where
Oh,
he's not that person. or
So
he
she's just
doesn't.
kind of like poking the bear, like, "Come on, it's okay." But
Yeah, and so I thought
gotcha.
that's kind of interesting, and they go into it like when he's talking about uh uh Tommy, when he
Yeah.
was and they kind of get into this, kind of conversation. Tommy was a joiner, and Joel's like, "Well, I just had to go save him. Like I always
Hmm.
had to go and help him. I always had to go. I always had something that I had to do."
Hmm.
And like and that's really like overall who Joel really is,
Yeah.
which like I thought was interesting. He's a caretaker of
Yeah.
people, and
Yeah.
so
He's got to protect all the time and keep his loved ones safe. Yeah, it's cool.
but to go on to, well, they go through the truck, and I liked how they kind of extended, like you see all the rusted out military vehicles on the side of the road and
Oh,
everything. I liked
yeah.
how they extended that, like, hey, this isn't just a 3 minute drive or something like that. We're going through, and then they get to the camping part
Yeah.
right there, which was new for the show, but I thought it kind of added some other stuff to the conversation. And Ellie, and one of them was when Ellie cracked the joke about like the scarecrow that got the award, and
Yeah.
and that's when
Yeah.
Joel starts to open up to her, like
Yeah. He answers it. And
he
she, yeah, because what was it again? Like,
he's
oh
outstanding
yeah,
in
it's
his
like
field.
upstanding in his field. Yeah. It's a good joke. It's a good joke.
Yeah. So he's really good. Like he's starting to warm up. And as
Hmm.
they kind of say, it's like he doesn't realize it at the time, and Ellie kind of does, but Joel's going back into dad mode. So
Mm,
that he didn't think and didn't really want to do himself.
yeah.
So um but so I guess the question is, would you drink the coffee?
I would be like Ellie. If it smells bad, I'm gonna leave it alone. I mean,
I'm
they
I'm
got to do what they got to do, but didn't they say that the Chef Boyardee was like 20 years old or something like
Yeah,
that?
and
Like,
she really liked the Chef Boyardee. She's like, he was really good.
yeah. It's like, I don't know about that. I would never eat a 20-year-old cat, but this is a different world. So I don't know. Beggars can't be choosers. But
I kind of look at like maybe like Chef Boyardee, kind of like maybe not quite as long lasting as a Twinkie,
yeah,
but there's
yeah.
so many preservatives and whatever else in there that like it's gonna taste the same for like 50 years.
It's kind of like finding a Cheeto. It's like it's most likely still good because all
Yeah.
it is preservatives.
So so yeah, her yeah, but yeah, the he's she's like, did people really have like go to a place called Starbucks and drink this?
Oh yeah,
I don't
yeah. I
remember
forgot
word for
about that.
word what she said, but that's kind of where she was.
Yeah, I can't think of it right now, but yeah, they did actually mention Starbucks, so that's probably a decent little check going over to Starbucks right there for that.
Yeah, here you go. Here. Or actually, decent check
Actually,
from
probably
Starbucks to them.
yeah, the other way around. Yeah.
Because she brings in, it's kind of like like the last episode when she looks at Mortal Kombat and she knows a certain amount about Mortal Kombat. Um,
Yeah.
and Joel doesn't know anything about Mortal Kombat, or at least he doesn't admit he knows anything about Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great.
But it's kind of like they said. Joel's not a high IQ person. He's a very capable person.
Hmm.
Which ultimately, it's like you see, like during the camp scene, he stays up all night.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering that because he didn't close his eyes, and then the next scene we have, he's standing up or like looking into the forest or something, I think. And you see that Ellie is like super tired, but yeah, it's like he hasn't fully let down his guard.
Well,
That's how I felt.
I think it goes into the full episode. He, like they've seen um the zombies, they've seen the runners and the clickers and everything. He
Hmm.
knows the humans are worse because he
Yes.
because he
That's why he
you know
said don't like do the fire or something, right? Because of the smoke.
yeah, so he
Yeah.
knows, like, you're out in the wild or anything like this, the humans can be drastically worse, and he knows
Hmm.
that. And so when he says, "Oh, don't worry about it," he's trying to keep her feeling safe.
Yeah.
He knows, like, I have to keep an eye out all night because um otherwise, yeah, bad things could easily happen.
Yes.
And so that's why I think he makes sure he probably makes sure that she goes to sleep and feels comfortable, and then he probably gets up and he's up all night at watch.
And that's why he's making the coffee in the morning too, right?
Yeah.
Needs something to keep on going because he's the only one driving also.
Yeah, he's driving, he's probably tired, he needs all the caffeine he can get into his system. And
Yep.
it doesn't matter if it tastes bad. If it tastes bad, it'll probably wake him up even more. You know.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, just that whole initial sequence, I thought they did a good job. Like, they added in a little bit, but
Hmm.
then they kept some really, really good parts from the game.
Yeah.
Even up to, like, like they, you know, did it where they get into the town, and then there's the guy, help, help, and Joel knows from experience this isn't good.
Yeah, this is a setup.
And and Ellie at that time was like at first she was like, well, should we help him? Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
what
Because
probably most
and
of
that
us. Yeah,
that kind of goes into what you were saying that Joel knows these things, but Ellie doesn't. So this is all like first time for her.
yeah,
And she right now cares so much about people. Like if someone says that they're hurt, she wants to go help them. Whereas Joel is like, no, let's just keep on going. But yeah, so yeah, he just like speeds up the truck and would run that guy over if it weren't for him like jumping out of the way.
yeah, exactly. And so yeah, so he's more experienced than that, and um she's not. One of the things
Mhm.
that they talked about, and I didn't pick up on it because I wasn't really paying that much attention to which city they were in, but
Oh yeah,
in the game they go to Pittsburgh.
yeah.
In the show, and they were talking about this in their official podcast, that as they were going around their shooting areas in Calgary or whatever, they
Hmm.
they figured the place that they could find that worked the best looked more like Kansas City than Pittsburgh.
I think that's so cool because I've been to Calgary.
Uh-huh.
It's actually the province like right next to where I live. So I think of it as just like cowboy country kind of thing, like bunch of open fields and all that. So now I know if I want to go to the equivalent of Calgary in the States, I go to Kansas City.
Yeah.
So it's not
Well,
like Steel City, like Pittsburgh. Gotcha.
yeah. And so, yeah, because it's like they didn't have, it was probably easier for him to not find like a bigger city with like a bunch of skyscrapers, which the
Hmm.
game the game had. Like, they had all these skyscrapers that they were,
Yeah.
like, that were in the background at least, and there was only
Hmm.
one tower that was really tall in Kansas City. That's where well, you know, um, but um, so yeah, it goes into that, and it goes into like the the fight scene there right after, because they crash through, which is very much from the game. Um,
Yep.
and like they only like there was more guys that you fight off in the game, but ultimately it's the same concept. So
hmm
what did you think of like the whole action sequence and also Ellie with the gun?
Yeah, so I thought it was really cool. So, like how you were alluding to, Joel is starting to think of her as someone that he has to protect, like a daughter or whatever, not as luggage, as he alluded earlier in the episode that he referred to her as. So yeah, his first thing is like, hey, can you fit through this hole in the wall? As gunshots are firing left and right and everywhere. And she says yes. He said, okay, go, I'll protect you. I'll protect you. So it's one of those things of like, you can trust me and I'm going to keep you safe, which is very much like a fatherly sort of mentality. So yeah, she runs in there and yeah, like you said, there's only a couple people. I think there's two people that were shooting at them. And then Joel gets blindsided by a third person. And it cuts over to the scene where you see what Ellie's going through, that she can hear this. And she wants to keep on doing what Joel said, which is hide until I come find you. But she gets this feeling like something's not right. So she gets out there and holds up the gun, which the very, very, very first scene, you see her pointing it at a mirror and she's like saying like click, click or whatever, right? Like she's kind of practicing in the mirror, but this time it's for real.
Yeah.
So she kind of hesitates a little bit, shoots the guy that was probably gonna kill Joel. And then, Joel gets the guy off, and then he takes Ellie's knife and says, go back into the hole. Go back into the hole, because I don't want you to see this.
It was the guy.
Oh, sorry. Yes. The guy's
guy
knife.
off
Yeah.
his knife. He's like, take my knife, take this, and
right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah,
from
he's
Ellie.
begging for his life, saying anything and everything he possibly can. But Joel isn't going to buy it.
Yeah.
Probably because he's been through this for years. Because he used to hang with Tess and Tommy and all these different people. But he doesn't want Ellie to see him do this to the guy.
And you notice Ellie doesn't second guess him when he said go back there. She hasn't, like with Tess, she's like no, whatever. But when Joel says go back there, she goes back and hides behind the wall.
Yeah, wiping away some tears and everything. But like you said, she doesn't say no. She doesn't argue with him about it.
Yeah. She learns. Like I said, Ellie's the higher IQ. She learns, and that's one thing I've learned about like IQ over the years is IQ isn't necessarily like how brilliant you are. It's how well you pick up on new things. So
right.
You could have a lower IQ and be like really good at one thing because that's what you do and you do that all the time. Where like a high IQ, that's where like you get like these really big business people and everything, and they jump from business to business to business, and they know enough about everything that they can, like they can get in there and they can learn things really quick. They might not be as good as somebody that completely focuses on a certain technology or something like that, but they understand the basics of it really well, where like a lower IQ person would look at it and be like, I don't understand that, and it'd take them longer to understand certain things.
Right. That makes sense.
So Ellie's the higher IQ. She picks up on these cues that maybe Joel doesn't understand, or that it would take Joel longer to learn from. And so she picks up on it, and she picks up like these aren't bad. These are bad people. Joel knows these are bad people. And Ellie's not necessarily against violence. It fascinates her. It's why she's into Mortal Kombat.
Turn people's limbs off and everything.
And they kind of pointed it out in the first episode when Joel beats up the guy like just like goes just violent and beats kill. She probably punched the guy to death or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
probably.
like she has this thing of fascination for the whole thing. Like
Hmm.
she's very fascinated by the violence of it. It's why she always wants the gun. It's why she always wants stuff. And this is kind of like what from their side of things what they've kind of said. And that's kind of who Ellie is she always wants to be that self-sufficient person.
Hmm.
And so um that's where you know that whole thing is like she knew she had to help Joel. She didn't know exactly what to do, but when she goes back and around, and and they did a smart thing also with the like Joel took the knife and just stabbed the guy to death. You notice a
Hmm.
gunshot didn't go off.
Yeah, no, nothing like that.
And okay, if you know like, hey, there's a bunch of people around, and there was a couple of gunshots that went off earlier. Are you going to keep shooting? So he just stabs the guy.
Yeah.
That's how he kills him. But like Ellie can hear that, but she's like it scares her, but at the same time it fascinates her.